to our session. So we'll be presenting what's new in Eclipse Dirigible, what we made last year. So it's me, Nedelcho Delchev, and Yordan. I will first make an overview with some slides. We are from SAP, we usually do slides only, but this time Yordan will make a demo for the second part. So what we'll show it now, this is the agenda. Let me read it. So first topic will be to describe what's new in our Web Ide. So we re-implemented the whole IDE from Eclipse Equinox and RAP and OSGI to pure web-based thin Web Ide based on Angular, Bootstrap, and this code layout. Afterwards, we'll talk about V8 engine integration, which we put next to the Rhino and Nashorn, and what actually was the change in the bridge between the Java layer and the JavaScript. Afterwards, we'll talk a little bit about the embedded case, how you can, on one hand side, build custom stack for your use cases, for your business application, and on the other side, how you can embed dirigible components into your, for instance, legacy stacks or application server. We'll be showing afterwards the Schema Modeler, Entity Data Modeler with generation templates. Yordan will make a demo afterwards. BPMN Modeler, it's integrated flowable engine and flowable modeler. CMS built-in storage and also adaptation for remote CMIS compliant repositories. We made also key clock integration recently in this area of authentication authorization. What we introduced is much more powerful listener concept and integrated ActiveMQ in the app server itself. How you can send messages to this to this message hub, and afterwards how you can describe listeners that can then make a callbacks with JavaScript services, backend services. This is the back channel. We have similar concept for job definition by using quartz. So you can define your scheduled jobs. We have improved debugger for JavaScript. And the last 2 points is, so you know that in Dirigible we have this mobile application development based on Tabriz. Why on Tabriz? Because it's very close to our idea of in-system development. So you can implement your application and immediately run on the mobile device. No build, no deploy, no other other steps need to be performed. And plugins mechanism. So we introduced this depot concept. It's a very simple one. And so this is the way how you can introduce your own plugins for Eclipse Dirigible. If you have questions, you can ask, just interrupt me. The idea is really to be more discussion than presentation. Okay. So, in the previous version, Eclipse Dirigible was known as something like web Eclipse or similar terms, which means you just take Eclipse plugins, legacy Eclipse plugins, and via wrap framework, you expose to the web. And this was working pretty well at some point of time. We were really productive in the beginning because we had actually legacy of plugins that we wanted to migrate. But yeah, at some later point of time, we realized that young developers don't like so much this Maven, Taiho, OSGI, CI stuff. So it's very difficult to them to really work with this target platform stuff and to build everything. And they really didn't understand why we need all this stuff. On one hand. On the other hand, we wanted to really move to this Web 2.0 approach, to have thin client, purely web-based, and to communicate with RESTful services in the backend. You know, in wrap, it's used backend rendering, server-side rendering. And yeah, we decided to take this move. And yeah, it was hard work, but this was the major part of our delivery last year. Currently it comes with not only with Orion, which was the default and the only editor in the past, but currently it comes with Monaco as well, this VS Code editor, and Ace editor, so they're optional. Currently in the default stack, we built 3 of them, so you can open a file with any of them, but if you have a custom stack, you can just choose one of them. What is interesting here that we have fully defined RESTful APIs for workspace management, for Git interaction, for database interaction, everything that you see as a perspective. The user interface communicates with the backend via fully defined RESTful services. They are described in Swagger JSON. Okay, also interesting stuff here. Please. Is the theming support. So you have a not just bunch of CSS files, but it yeah, can have personalization. It keeps the layouting, etc. Another interesting also part here is this on-the-fly extensibility. So being the idea being a plain Eclipse Dirigible application, you can really create also your own perspective, views, editors, can apply them, and just with refresh the browser, you have them there. So there is no build, deploy, anything like this. So this we call on-the-fly extensibility. So you can develop Dirigible with Dirigible itself. Now, we can say that that is really true. Okay, so we have some samples if you need also form-based editors. Angular directives for easily creation of HTML pages for perspective and forms, etc. And also we provide client-side message hub also, because communication between, okay, what you see here are different views and editors, and communication, they are rendered in the iframe, so they're fully standalone verticals. So the user interface has its own backend, and works with it. So there is no some big backbone that manages everything. It's not one page application, and yeah, we injected some snippets here and there, but they're really separated stuff. And yeah, to be able to interact with each other, you need something like messaging, so we provide this for you, and there are some samples that you can use. By the way, on Thursday, after the launch, we will have deep dive session on WebIDE itself. Okay, so the next thing is V8 integration. It was 2 years ago, I think, when Jan presented J2V8 bridge. And we really liked the idea and decided to move to this direction to integrate V8. Why? Because it comes with most recent ECMA implementation of the most recent ECMA specification, and it's currently is the fastest one. But there was an issue because at the moment we had this Rhino engine and Nashorn, which are Java implementations, so they are deeply embedded in the JVM. So you can call any class from the JVM itself. And our Enterprise JavaScript APIs sometimes was not, okay, the bridge was not implemented very well, so it really used low-level Java classes in the VM. And via V8 integration, currently we are sure that the bridge itself is very properly implemented. So their facade approach, something like GNI, if you are aware of this concept. So there are some in the Java facade side, you can have, for instance, static methods with some primitive. Even you can have a methods that returns instances. Afterwards, you can call methods of these instances, etc., etc. There are, we keep two object trees sometimes, and the good part is that this lives in the thread context, so it lives only when the request response cycle is live. So we have plenty of Enterprise JavaScript. So if you go here on this link, you cannot see anything. Okay, probably I have to stop this. Okay, this is the Enterprise JavaScript API. So there are different sections here. We put a lot more modules than before. So here how it looks like from the end user perspective. Here you can go to the definition, to the source, and to the implementation of the facade. So if you are interested to create more and more Enterprise JavaScript APIs. Okay. So about the custom stack, when we escaped from OSGI, we needed something that can give us this modularity. And of course, for the Java developers, Maven is the first guess. So we decided to build everything in Java jar files and to put it to Maven Central to be able everybody who has Java knowledge to build its own stack. Everything is good, but for the core components which are Java based, it's natural. But what about Eclipse Dirigible projects, which are just content? No matter that part of it can be executed in the browser, part of it can be executed in the backend. It's some content files which are not Java, and we decided to follow WebJar's approach. So we built this content also as jar files and put it also in Maven Central. So this approach can be used also by you when you create a dirigible application modules. You can follow the same strategy and achieve the same result, so to have really custom stack from standard modules and also containing your own stuff. At the end, you receive one runtime that contains only the core part of dirigible engines and your application code, nothing else. No Web IDs, no REST servicer for the Web ID itself, nothing more. So the Schema Modeler, it's, let's say, a trivial thing. Everybody knows what the table is, and view and foreign keys. The good thing is that we already have it in the web. You can model your database schema, save it, publish it, and after a while, it will be materialized in the database, in the default database. Okay. Entity Modeler. Here, this feature goes to this area of no-code, low-code platforms. So this is the stream where you have a model, this model-driven architecture approach. You have a model. You can model it with drag and drop, some form-based editors to create entities, properties, etc., etc. And afterwards, you can generate a full-stack application out of it. So this thing will be demonstrated just in a few minutes by Yordan. Okay, BPMN modeler and flowable engine. This is the second, say, stream of, again, low-code, no-code area, where you can define a business process, again, just with modeling, drag and drop stuff, and also you can implement the service tasks, because the service task will be callbacks again to dirigible backend services. So you can have the full implementation of your process on the fly. Okay, so I'm not sure that you can see it well, but this is our cool user interface for the document storage. So again, it's not so fancy. You can drag and drop here your files, and they will be uploaded to the built-in repository or to the managed repository. It could be some remote CMIS compliant repository. Here, the trick is that you can upload even zip files, and they will be unzipped and will be streamed to the repository. Afterwards, of course, you can download directly the files, to view the files, or to download zipped folders. It's useful for static content, for images, etc. Okay. For authentication authorization, here, of course, we have some form-based editors, etc. But just the idea is more important. So in the instance, following this paradigm of in-system development, after implementation of services or some pages, you can even set the security roles, who can access it. There could be HTTP, and based on methods, you can allow get methods, but deny some post or put or delete. And this, again, can be done on the fly. Listener, message copy and listeners. So you know what the message copy is and how the pattern works. What we have is embedded ActiveMQ. On one hand side, you have Enterprise JavaScript messaging producer, and you can send messages to queues. This one is just the queue name or topic name. And on the other side, you can define a callback with onMessage and onError functions, and have this kind of descriptor that is explaining what, so when a message is received in this queue or topic, which callback to be called. So this is purely integrated for backend asynchronous stuff. So similar paradigm is used here for the job definition. So you can create a scheduled job. The expression here is a cron expression syntax. So you can define some jobs each night to execute some service, whatever it can do afterwards. Okay, the debugger. What we have, multi-user, multi-session debugger. You can have step in, step out, also to set breakpoints, to inspect the values here. So this one is based on Rhino. Here the idea is that the debugging happens on the live instance. So for instance, we cannot implement Nashorn debugger because it will stop the VM and everything will stop. And that's why we need something that is interpreted. And the debugging also should work in this way. For the V8, we have some prototypes. So soon, hopefully, we will have also debugger for V8. Okay, here I could say only that we migrated to Tabriz 2.0, and I think Eclipse source guys already announced Tabriz 3.0 preview, so soon we have to migrate to 3.0 as well. Okay, the plugins mechanism. So everything which is built as a dirigible application in system, it can be applied on the same instance or in another instance. That's why we have this implemented this plugins view and a simple. Let me show you how it looks like. So this one is the depot JSON file. So here, currently we have only one, but if you have some plugins, dirigible plugins, you can just create a pull request and you can add your repository. And what it contains, the repository, as you can guess, is again JSON file, very simple one. You need the name, description, and most important is this repository location, the version, so the branch or tag, and yeah, the site is clear. So what it does, when you click install, it just go, take the sources from the Git and applies on the instance. And that's enough. So in this plugin, you can have database descriptors, schema descriptors, you can have job descriptors, you can have message hub descriptors. So you can have backend services, front-end services, you can have really heavyweight stuff there. It's not need to be only user interface. Okay. And now I'll hand over to you, Yordan.
Okay, so by the way, do you have any questions until now? No. Yes?
So it's actually the core part is based on Oryx editor. Oryx editor, I'm not sure whether you know it. So what we saw is really different technologies, different frameworks that can be integrated. So we don't force people to use one or the other framework. So the modelers, entity modelers and schema modelers are based on MX Graph. BPMN is based on Oryx. We have integrated Monaco, Orion, Ace, so you can integrate, yeah, arbitrary framework.
Okay, so this is the look and feel of the dirigible ID, and as Nedelcho said already, it has different themes. And just to show a few, maybe this one is the best for now because it's dark and you won't see anything. But I will use this blue one. It's more like SAP theme. Okay, so what can I do now? I can create a new project, for example. It could be this API project, just to demonstrate the Enterprise JavaScript API. And what I can do, I can create a JavaScript service. It will be a demo service. And after just a few clicks, okay, it says hello world. Yeah, the only thing that you need to do with Dirigible from time to time is to click this publish all, or you can think of deploy button. But actually on the background, it just copies one files from one directory to another. And if it's some special file, I can, for example, create tables and so on. So yeah, you can copy this preview link in another tab just to guarantee that everything is working and hello world is there. Okay, if I update it, like hello EclipseCon, okay, refreshing, bam. So actually, by the way, it's not JavaScript, front-end JavaScript, it's a server-side JavaScript. Okay, so here it looks like very much like request response, Java request response. And if we go to the API, you can see, maybe you showed it already, but I can get, for example, the HTTP client. So you have get method, you have status, and so on. Maybe what will be interesting, I can copy this example. So, and as I don't have such a table, I can look into the tables. And by the way, there's a preview for this thing. It's a database preview. And here, in the public schema, I have, for example, dirigible extensions. Okay, so of course I can execute here some select update statements, but what I will do here is to copy the name of the table, put it in my SQL, copy the name of the column, paste it here. Okay. So actually I will delete this one because I want to row, so I will delete this one also, and boom, here it goes. So yeah, you get the lifts, the default dirigible extensions and their locations. Okay, so this is very quickly the Enterprise JavaScript API, and if you have more questions about it, we can talk about it later, because I have 3 more demos to show you. Okay, what is next? Next, I want to show you the model, the EDM, Entity Data Model, which I can create from here. It will be again demo, and very quickly I can drag and drop 2 entities. Let's make it 3. This one will be students, this one will be courses, this one will be course students. Okay, very simple entities, only with ID and name. That's all that you need to get a graduate from a university today. Yeah, just a minute. Okay, what else? I can save it. After I save it, here's a new model file, but I need to make some more preparations for my demo. I will have a link to the students table, into the courses table. Okay. This will be student, and this will be course. Okay, this will be a composition. From one course, I want to see all the students that are enrolled for this course. And what else? I don't want to see the ID in my UI, so I will remove it in that way. I will make the student property of a type of a dropdown. So when I have a course, I want to assign students manually. Okay. What else? From here, I also want to remove the ID. And one last thing, I need to say what is the type of the entity itself. In that case, the students are primary entity, the courses are also primary entity, the type of the user interface that will be generated for them will be miniature master entities, because the courses are the master data, and this one will be of type manage detail entities and will be a dependent entity. Okay, after all of this, I have one model file, which is actually a JSON. Yeah, and I can very quickly click generate, select from a list of templates, and by the way, this list can be extended from you with your own templates. So right here we have Angular.js template. Set some properties like EclipseCon. Okay, like that, generate, and all of this stuff is generated for you. Click publish, and I can see in the console that soon there will be some updates here. And what I can do, I can show you the launchpad of this application that I generated. Okay, so I have students and I have courses, and you can further modify the properties, change the icon, the grouping, and so Okay, so if this happens to you, what you need to do, go to the local storage, clean it, and boom, it is working. This is kind of issue that we have not yet resolved, but it's a trivial one. And what I can do, I can enter students, for example, myself, and Nedelcho, who is still not able to graduate from school. Okay, again, district here. No. Okay, let's see what's wrong with it. Maybe I forgot to set some properties. It's primary entity master. Okay. This one, course students. Just a second. Students. If I save it, maybe not. Just try it one more time. And let's see, is there such a table in the catalog? There are some students. There are the courses and the course students, so maybe everything should be fine now. Yes. Okay, so I can create new course like computer science, and I can, of course, attach some students to it. Yeah, Nedelcho won't be in this class. Okay, so basically this is a very simple model, and I can show a more complex one. Yes, and because we are very cool, we have a GoldenLayout, we can do such things like, yeah, and you can wonder where your editor is. And you can basically do the same thing here in the application itself, because it's also using the same technology. And because for me to be a little harder to work that way, I will reset it. And everything is back to normal. Okay, so here we have some demos that runs very quickly. This one, and this one. Okay, so what we have here, yeah, we have also Git integration in the Web Ide. So all the projects here are actually developed in Dirigible and published in GitHub from Dirigible, and you can run it on Dirigible with just a single click. Here it's a simple UI. You can choose from local or the trial version of Dirigible, and because I have a local one, I can click it here, and it's planned to add some more properties that you can select your own Dirigible instance, and we won't be under the GDPR rules, because this will actually be stored in the same application storage that you saw earlier. Okay, so what we have done here, if I go back to the ID, I can see that I have 3 more projects. Okay, and in the console here, maybe you don't saw it, but a lot of stuff get generated and published. And if I refresh this, I have a full stack application for managing a bookshop. I have books. Here I have categories. Maybe it should be the other way around. Yes, I have several books, several categories. What else I have? I have units of measurements, USD and Euro, and I have stores. And again, I will clean this application storage until it's here, and right now I have one storage and the books that are in the storage. So basically this is all entities with CRUD functionality. That's perfect, but what if you want to do something else? What if you want to, for example, have a map and where your storage is and use Google Maps? And here is our extension application. Again, run on dirigible, select, oops, not trial, this one. Okay, so what will happen again if you are watching the console? It will do some stuff. It will clone a new project. Precisely this one. No, not this one, but this one here. It's an extension project, and how it looks like. It has some HTML file, it has controller, and it has two dirigible specific extensions. So first is the extension itself that will be published in the database, and second is the implementation of the extension. So this is all. And after this is published, I can again reset the storage, the local storage, and here is my new extension. If I click on my shop, I should see it here on the map. Okay. And if you are not happy with this, you can always create your own user interface, which is actually backed by the same data. It is consuming the same service. And if you go to the marketplace, okay, you can see that we have some books in it. And if you search for that book in the admin UI, you may say, no, it's pranking us. They are not search books. Here it is, the first one. Okay, so here we have 5 books, and here also we have 5 books. So, last but not least, if you have such a bookshop and you want to have, for example, printing on demand, so basically you don't have bookshop stores physical, but everything is online. You have users that enter the shop, select certain book, you print it, deliver it, and that's all. So here is a simple process for that, also modeled with dirigible. It can be tried in the exactly same way as before. What it will do, it will clone this, maybe, yes, here it is, this process, and this is how it looks like. Oops. So first of all, we create a printing request. We check the delivery address if it is valid or not. We check the title if you have it, and after all, you can print it. Okay, so how this looks like in our application. We have a new extension here, by the way, if you noticed. Here there was only marketplace before, but now here is service. You get a printing on demand, for example, this one. I want to be delivered in Sofia. So, okay, so this is the address of our office in Sofia. And if I go to the admin, okay, I will have one new services here with printing on demand, and here's our request. And it went through the process and it's complete. So maybe a few words about the process itself. Okay, so just very quickly, if I select one step of the process, we have this class field, and actually here is where the magic happens. So you have a handler that is pointing to a dirigible module that is being executed on that step. And the class that is executing this one is actually a dirigible class. And if I have open, yes, and it's implementing the flowable Java delegate actually. And in that way, you can have multiple Java hardcore flowable delegates implemented in your backend and package the way that Nedelcho showed earlier. And here, in the UI, in the definition of the process, you can combine, you can mix Java with dirigible, dirigible only, or only Java. So it's pretty complex. And basically that is from my side. So thank you very much for the attention, and now it's time for cookies, questions, beers, and so on. Thank you.